This morning, as the police were finishing their searches of Peter Mandelson's London and Wiltshire properties, Gordon Brown was expressing his deep regret for ennobling him to bring him back into government in 2008.
I made mistakes. I regret it. It shouldn't have happened. I think people have got to understand the circumstances in which I made that mistake. But let me say, first of all, that Mandelson did betray us. But most of all, the biggest betrayal was of the women and girls that were trafficked, that were exploited, that were treated as less than human by Epstein and by Mandelson, who became one of his enablers.
The former Prime Minister has outlined measures in The Guardian he believes need adopting, including an independent anti-corruption commission and a near ban on MPs' second jobs to restore trust in politics. He's adamant his successor should stay in number 10 to deliver what he's calling a century-defining rebalancing of power and accountability.
But I think the question now for Keir Starmer is he prepared and will he be prepared to bring in the reforms that are necessary to end these abuses?
This afternoon, a government spokesperson said they had already tightened the ministerial code but agreed more reforms are needed. Transparency campaigners say they must act quickly.
When Keir Starmer stood on the steps of 10 Downing Street for the first time as Prime Minister nearly 2 years ago now, he said that rebuilding trust was the challenge of our era. What we must see is finally an end to the corrupting influence of big money in our politics. We must see proper standards regulators with teeth, and we must see an end to pernicious issues like cronyism in the House of Lords and MPs' second jobs. Until those things are really tackled with depth and with real reforms, then we will just lurch from one scandal to another.
For some in Keir Starmer's increasingly febrile party, their patience with him is exhausted. Remaining supporters, perhaps picking up today's Times supplement, might be wondering how he could have ever appointed someone who serially let down Labour Prime Ministers. But they're still hoping he breaks the habit of his first 18 months behind this black door to simply tinker, and instead now deliver on the change he promised.
Do you have anything to hide, Prime Minister?
Well, earlier I spoke to the Labour peer and former special advisor to Gordon Brown, Baroness Aisha Hazarika. I asked her just how bad this situation is for Keir Starmer.
It's really bad for the Prime Minister and for Downing Street and for the whole Labour Party. And I think it's really bad for politics as well. I mean, it's such a terrible scandal.
I mean, the former Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, made a quite extraordinary intervention today, sounding really angry, genuinely upset, saying this must be the time to clean up politics, but at the same time insisting that Keir Starmer was the only man to do it, was a man of integrity. Many people will find that very hard to swallow, won't they?
Well, look, this has absolutely rocked the Labour Party, and of course it's rocked Downing Street, and it's put huge pressures on Keir Starmer. I think we do need to reflect on why many leaders, including Gordon Brown, Tony Blair and Keir Starmer, and beyond them, the Labour Party was enchanted by Peter Mandelson.
You were a senior advisor for a very long time. What would your advice to Keir Starmer be right now? Would it be to stay or to go?
Look, there are very important elections coming up, and there's a very important battle being had in politics. People are very unhappy at the moment in the Labour Party. There's no question. I'm not going to spin you a lie about that. They also do not want to gift the keys to number 10 to Nigel Farage at the next general election. I don't get the impression now that anybody wants to sort of rush full tilt into getting rid of Keir Starmer. And I think Keir Starmer and Downing Street need to be as apologetic and humble and reach out to as many people as possible.
I mean, is he saved only by the fact that perhaps the key contenders, Angela Rayner, Wes Streeting, may have problems of their own at the moment?
Well, that is certainly a factor. And I think also the Labour Party does not really culturally or politically or historically in its DNA like to get rid of its party leaders.
You worked with Peter Mandelson for quite some time. Do you see any irony in the fact that Keir Starmer, so often characterised as a man of integrity but no charisma, is potentially might be brought down by a man who many now are saying was chock full of charisma but no integrity?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost a sort of Shakespearean tragedy. I actually raised my concerns about Peter Mandelson with colleagues in the House of Lords. This was very shortly before he was sacked as ambassador. And I got a lot of pushback from that. You know, I had a lot of complaints made against me. I had a lot of very important figures say to me, you know, you shouldn't be complaining about Peter Mandelson, you shouldn't be raising this. He's a great man, he's done so much for our party. And I'll tell you something as well, Jackie, a lot of women in the Labour Party are absolutely furious and devastated because they were not often part of this boys' club that was going on in the Labour Party, and they feel sick to their stomach about what has happened.
And just on the point that Keir Starmer has repeatedly told us, he is here for the long haul. He will be PM at the end of this year and the end of next year. That is looking increasingly unlikely, isn't it, truthfully?
Well, I don't know the answer to that question. Let's see what happens. But as I've said to you, this scandal has rocked the Labour Party and Downing Street.
Ayesha Hazarika, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.